Peace. Welcome back to my channel. You know, I watched this very disheartening video, and I want to show y'all a clip and then come back.
واحنا المستخدمين واحنا بيحكوا فينا وبيسووا لنا شيء واحنا العرب يا شباب يا عرب اطلعوا يا العرب انا ما احنا المسؤول في الرئيس يطلع كنا ضد العربيين ضد عربيين ضد عرب وانا العرب قول له انا العرب منتخب عنها حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل عنده العربي منتخب حسبي الله كنت شهيد وما ادريش حاجه وانا العرب وانا العرب كلهم.
Just hearing the screams of that boy sent chills through my body. I can't even explain it. It's almost like when your mans come through and tell you yo, they just jumped him, they just did something to him, and you about to spin the block, and you could just feel it, the adrenaline kicking in, the shot of the endorphins and all of these things happening to your body, right? I could just feel the frustrations, and I'm not even there, but I could feel, because I got the same questions. Where are the Arabs? The Arab? Where are the Muslims? I could feel the same frustrations, but I want to say that these things were already prophesied, and it's sad because we have to, these things were going to come to pass, right? And we have to witness these atrocities happening to our brothers and our sisters. But I want to remind the brothers and the sisters of a few things, right? And I want to give you a little history too. But one of the main things that I want to talk about is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and I said this in another video, he said in a narration to his companions, and this is like in the 6th century, he told his companions, soon the nations will gather up against you. And he said, and they will start to take from you. The same way that people get together at a dinner table and start to take from the feast, from the middle plate, right? He said this to his companions, and they asked him, oh Rasulullah, why? Would it be because we will be small in number? He said, no. He said, you will be many. He said, you will be many, but you will become weak like the foam of the sea. He said, you will become weak like the water after the flood. And he said, and Allah will remove the fear of you that they used to have. I said this in my other video, that they used to fear the Muslim, right? That Rasulullah was granted the fear over his enemies of a month's journey span, right? So the narration says, and he will remove the fear of you from their hearts, and he will place wahn in your heart. And they asked him, what is wahn? He said, it is the fear. He says it's like love for the worldly life and the fear of dying. This is what has been removed from our hearts. This is why a lot of people don't get engaged. We have fell in love with the life of this world. But to give you a little history, and before I even go into that, the League of Nations, one of my teachers, right, from a long time, may Allah have mercy on him. He used in reference of the nations will gather up against you as the United Nations, which in my eye, they're a terrorist organization, if you ask me. They sit back and watch crime, international war crimes get committed against the defenseless people, and nobody does anything, because this is all part of the plan. All the part of the plan was to separate the Muslim world, which is what they did. Right? What they did was, when the Muslims was united, and I blame the Arabs for this too. I know a lot of them don't like to hear that, but a lot of them are to blame for this. The Rasulullah warned against separating yourself from the Khilafah, from the Muslim rulership, and that's what they did. When the Khilafah was in Turkey, right? When the Ottoman Turks were the rulers of the Muslim world, America and Britain came, and they used their propaganda mechanisms and then they went into the Arabs, and then the Arabs, they gassed them up. Then the Arabs wanted to separate themselves from the rest of the Muslim world, or at least from the leadership, from the Ottoman Turks. They wanted to separate themselves. There was a few skirmishes between them. This is why to this day the Turks and the Saudis don't really get along. Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, was actually created by the British and the Americans, which is no coincidence why there's warplanes from the Americans in the ports throughout all those Gulf states. But that's a whole nother conversation. So the point I'm trying to make is they gassed them up, they separated themselves, and the moment they separated themselves, it gave Britain the opportunity to come in and go into Palestine, go into Lebanon. They went into other places, right? Because now the Muslim world was fragmented. It was fragmented. And that's not the only thing that they did. The British also made the Turkish people, with the help of Kemal Ataturk, which is called the father of the Turks, right? With his help, they abolished the Khilafah, the Muslim rulership. Even though the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said we should not spend an hour without a Khalifa, or something like that, or a day without a Khalifa, right? Or maybe it was like 24 hours. I'm not really so sure. But the point I'm trying to make, we've been warned that we should always have a Muslim ruler that governs the Islamic world. We also was told in a narration by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that if there is two Khalifas, that you kill the second one that was given the pledge and you keep the first, because it is a fitna to have multiple Khalifas. So this is the importance. We also been told, do not fight against your leadership unless they are displaying clear kufr. Okay, so we've been warned to always have a ruler. We was warned to not disobey, right? To uphold the leadership, so there wasn't no fitna. And we also been told to not trust the disbelievers. Allah tells us in the Quran, He says, "O you who believe, take not as your friends, consultant, advisors, helpers, friends, those outside of your religion, since they will not fail to do their best but to corrupt you. They desire to harm you severely. Hatred has already appeared from their mouths, but what they breast conceal is far worse. Indeed, we have made plain to you the signs, if you understand." Allah told you in the Quran, do not ally yourself with these people. But back to the United Nations. If you look at most of the wars, right? It has been 100 years since we had a Khalifa. Since 1923, the Khilafah was abolished, right? If you look at all the wars on so-called terror, if you look at all the campaigns, or like all of these European countries or the League of Nations get together and bomb and invade and attack and do all of the, and repress and do all of these things, all those campaigns have been on the Middle East. All of them. All of those campaigns have been on Muslim lands. Whether it's in Somalia, whether it's in Sudan, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Afghanistan, they all have been on Muslim lands. Because when other people fight for their freedom, when other people fight for their land, when other people fight for the injustices and atrocities that are being committed against them, they don't get called terrorists. They get called courageous. They say things like they got the right to defend themselves, but other people don't. I want you to pay attention to what they're saying. Anytime the same thing that applies to one people, it does not apply to another people. And the United Nations, the kafirs that we want to get our help from, that we want to beg and plead, they're non-existent. Where are the countries that are part of like the Security Council of the world? They're not getting involved because they don't really care about the Muslim. So back to the question that this young boy was asking, where are the Arabs that wanted to separate themselves so far and they can't even defend their territories? You can't even do nothing for yourself, but you wanted to separate from the rest of the Muslim world. You got your brothers, since you want to be so tribal, right? You got your brothers, your Arab brothers, Surrounded. From Egypt on one side, Jordan, Lebanon. You're not doing nothing. You're not doing nothing. Your brothers. So I feel that, young man. Where are the Arabs? You wanted to separate yourself so bad. Then he's saying, where are the Muslims? Where are the Muslims? Apparently, the Muslims will be having a meeting. I believe October 18th. They have this big organization that's called OIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. What the hell is that? We need a khilafah, a khalifa, a righteous khalifa. That's what the world needs. And this might just be the event that hopefully, may Allah hear our prayers. This just might be the event, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. But sometimes some type of catastrophe needs to happen in order for the Muslims to get right. You know, during the Mongol conquest, during the Abbasid Caliphate, they killed about 1.2 million Muslims in Iraq. The Mongols, when they was going at it with the Muslims, they killed 1.2 million Muslims. It was a very trying time in history for the Muslims. But within time, those people ended up converting to Islam. So some scholars looked at that period as Allah was just getting rid of some of the corruption that was going on in the religion, and some of the bad characters and bad players. And it brought some new people into the deen. By the way, the Mongols are like cousins with the Turks. A lot of people don't know that. But anyway, the point I was just trying to make is that these leagues of nations, we have no business getting involved with them. We don't have no business, because they show us time and time and time and time again. And Allah told us in the Quran, these people are not your friends. They are not your friends. I know, and of course, I'm at fault too. But I'll tell you what, all of my non-Muslim friends know where I stand. And they know if push comes to shove, they should get pushed. They know that. There's no discrepancy. There's no confusion. There's no like, at the same time, I still should be doing better. I should have Muslim companions. I should be doing more things with the Muslims. I really should. So I'm also at fault for some of these things that the Quran has legislated us not to do. But we gotta take heed. We gotta take heed. We cannot sit by and watch people do that to our brothers. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when one of you sees an evil, let him change it with his hands. If he cannot do so, let him change it with his tongue. And if he cannot do so, then at least let him hate it in his heart. I got a lot of Muslims on social media that I ain't posting nothing. Like, you don't hear a peep out of them. Okay, I get it. You might not be able to fight. You might not be able to donate money. You might not be able to do whatever. But like, you can't even talk about it. You're afraid to get your account taken. Like, what are you really like? I be trying to, like, you're not sharing like what's going on, what's happening to your brothers. You're not gonna say anything. All right, okay, maybe we want to get into that. I'm not qualified. Like, anything at all. You got non-Muslims talking about it. But look, I don't want to make this video long and drawn. I just wanted to highlight that these people have constantly showed us that they don't care. The Palestinian struggle is not that different from the black struggle in America or the struggle in Africa for independence, for rights, for preservation. It's not that different. And this is why the Panthers try to connect a lot of these movements, because they're fighting the same people, the same culprit. The same culprit. So, brothers and sisters, I know you think that's your man. I know you think that's your friend. I know you think they will never do nothing to you. But deep down, you can't really trust these people. That's not what I said. That's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Unless they're willing to live in peace with you. A lot of times when they get the time to show they behind, they'll show they behind. And I'm starting to have those same moments that I had back then when I was in prison. I remember when these dudes I used to hang out with, and I said this, you know, I talked about this on my channel. That time when, like, I used to hang out with these dudes, they was like folk and Crip or whatever, and one of the dudes told me he was gonna cut my brother. He said he was gonna cut my brother. I don't know why he thought that I could just slide, right? But I'm starting to have like those same moments. In those moments, I was like, I gotta separate myself from these people. I gotta separate myself from these people. That was like a real moment in time where I was just like, I really have to separate myself from these folks. Because it's clear that if you could say something to me and you think I'm your man's, or you cool with me, then how cool are we that you telling me you gonna do something to my brother? And this is what we experiencing. And I checked that dude. I said, bro, you ain't cutting my brother. You bugging. Just like that. I ate with these dudes. I hung out with these dudes, played basketball with them and all that. But when he threatened to harm a Muslim, I was like, bro, all that stuff goes out the window. Because I'm a Muslim. That's my brother. His blood, his honor, his property is sacred. So when I see some of these things going on, I'm just like, are these, like, what's going on with the Muslim? Do they skip those hadiths? Like, all right, maybe it's some strategy. Maybe there's some strategic planning going on behind the scenes. Hopefully, right? Maybe there's some strategic planning going on behind the scenes. I don't know. But it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Hopefully. But before I leave, don't lose hope, brothers. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also told us that the hour will not come until the Muslims fight the Yahudi. Okay? He told us in a narration. It's in Sahih Bukhari. He said the hour will not come till the Muslims have a fight, a war with the Yahudi. And I'm pretty sure you're not, I don't know when that time will be. And he said, and you will be slaughtering them. Okay? In large numbers. And he said to the point that when they hide behind rocks and trees, the rocks and the trees will be like, hey, oh Muslim, come here. It's a Yahudi hiding behind me. So, it might not be in our lifetime, we don't know. But I pray that we get together. I pray that Allah puts that love in our hearts again. And that fear, and removes that fear of the love of dying. Removes that fear of dying. And takes out the love of the dunya from our hearts. If I said anything that was wrong, it was from me. It was faulty. It came from me. If I said anything that was beneficial, that was of a reminder to the people. It came from Allah and from the knowledge that I have been able to acquire all the information. I stay blessed out there though. Peace.